Good morning, guys. I just dropped the sit-in protocol again, and I really encourage everyone to copy-paste it, pass it around. I think it's really important that we remember the sit-in protocol for safety measures. I hope everyone's having a good morning and continues to have a good day.
Yeah, they're fully putting a fence up around Parliament right now as we speak. You can check that link. There's the streamer screenshot if you don't want to click the link. If you have links or pics, current pics, let me know.
Yeah, but Coach, they had fences around Parliament the whole time to begin with, before they even got there. Like, as soon as they heard the convoy was coming, they put up fences so you could only get in so far.
No, they had like barrier fences up for a while from like construction, but they're putting up like, you know, I think that's at least what it shows on the video. They're putting up fences. Same thing they did around, you know, the municipal buildings in Minneapolis and whatnot.
Out doing crowd control fencing. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure they had big fence up, and some of it even had banners on it, so you couldn't really see past. Or am I thinking of somewhere else? But I know they definitely had something up. Would you quit hopping channels? Where are you?
I was just there, buddy, and there's nothing. Like, I just drove home. There's nothing. Like, nothing. I'm telling you, nothing. They are totally like, I was actually, to be honest with you, I am unimpressed with the lack of nothingness that is going on in Parliament right now. Like, it's disappointing. You would think that something is going on, but no, it's like a hippie rally. Everyone's happy there. News is bullshit. I'm just thinking that, I'm sorry, Jimmy, I don't mean to do that to you. Sorry, I didn't mean to bump you out. I just think that a lot of it, maybe they just videotaped one side and was like, hey, this is what's going on. Because honestly, like, it was a lot of trucks, a lot of people, and dead. Like, okay, some people were high and dancing in their own little, like, EDM corner. But no, like, it's honestly, like, I went by myself, dude. I'm a female. I'm 5'5.5". Like, I went by myself. You know, it was nothing.
Can anyone give us an update of what's going on in Ottawa right now?
Not really. I can refer you to a streamer that I'm watching on YouTube. Looks like workmen are putting up and reinforcing more fencing around Parliament.
My husband and I wish we could be there this weekend, but unfortunately it won't happen. So now I'm on bated breath trying to figure out what's happening from home.
Anybody watch Pat King's live?
I'm trying to find it.
Is he live right now?
He was live. I've watched the last three. It's kind of buffering going back up to the channel. If you guys know anybody on the front lines, they're coming. They are coming. And I honestly wouldn't say that if I wasn't pretty sure of what I just seen. Quick recap on it. He's asking everybody to get up and blow your horns. Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about. 7 buses, something like that. I've been watching since his first live stream. It's dropped 3 times, two or three times.
And they're hiding their badge numbers.
Meh, that's a given. No, I don't think they keep stopping his lives. I think it's people texting him or his phone's ringing or something. Drops for like 2 minutes and then comes back. Right now, he said he'd be back in a minute or so, and it's been down for like 4 minutes. You are correct. I dropped the link, but I don't know the rules on that, so I'm not about to do that. But I'm sure everybody knows where to go find it.
What's that link, though? I'm watching the one he did an hour ago.
Freddie, I'll try and get you the link 1 second. I'll solve you.
I don't even know what the rules are. I usually just post a link and then post a screenshot of it for anyone to just search it, you know, manually, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, but I'm not a regular in this channel, so I'm not going to be doing that.
It's all good. Drop it in my solo. I'll repost it. It's all cool.
I got you, though. It's there. If anybody else wants the link, just add me. I'll add you back and send you the link. No problem, Coach. Coach, I see you posted it. No problem. You're a bit of a veteran everywhere else. I'm not.
Now everybody gets along with Coach because he wears bunny slippers.
I've been looking for her bunny slippers for like 2 days just so I can put them on and take a picture. She's got more animal slippers. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda. Oh, wrong channel.
Real Pat King had one going on. I don't think he does now.
Looks like it might be starting to go down in Ottawa. One live streamer said they're starting to push them out.
Here in our darkest moment, it is our time to shine and show what the new Canadian world will look like with peace and love. I feel for everybody that's there. Thank you all. I have 100% support for you guys all.
Not pushing them out yet, but there's dozens of cops walking through the one area, and they're handing out papers once again. But it looked like they had somebody pinned up against the fence, but it was really hard to tell.
Looking in Ottawa right now. Any moderators in the room, if you get a message request from somebody named Bob Brooks 24, just block him. Me a request sometime overnight, and I know last night they were kicking him out of a bunch of groups because he's just being a troll. Posted something in the chat that I think would be a really good read for anybody there that has dogs that are in the protest, and anybody who may be able to help out anybody who has a dog that is in the protest, because if that person gets arrested and charged and put into jail, their dog will be euthanized after 8 days of staying with the Ottawa bylaw.
Just goes to prove what a bunch of scumbags the government are.
Good morning, guys. It's Queen Bee 444. Boy, there's a lot going on this morning already, hey? Anybody want to quickly fill me in? I'm kind of getting the idea. I don't really have time to watch Pat King this morning. So they're moving in on them with buses, is that correct?
Sounds like they're staging. They have not moved in on them yet. I don't think I've watched Pat King. I don't think I have. I'm not sure who I'm watching right now. But they have not moved in. It looks like they're going to be playing hardball pretty soon, though. It looks like the Parliament building is all surrounded by fence, and they came through about an hour ago and handed out their fancy letters again. Bylaw looks like they're putting the threats out there about the dogs, pets.
There's not as many vehicles as people thought there were for police. Somebody did drive around last night taking video, and there was some parking lots that she was told were overflowing with police-like vehicles, and the parking lots were completely empty. Although other areas are full, where all the cops are staying and whatnot. Hard to tell what's really going on if we're not there when you got people on both sides that exaggerate things.
The one live streamer, he already said if it comes down, he says he's gonna run. He's out of there. He's not gonna document anything. So I can put out the name of that one if you want, but I kind of lost respect for him as a YouTuber if he's gonna put that out there that he doesn't want to be around, document what's going down for people.
And if he knows that he doesn't have quite what it takes to stand his ground and fight, then maybe it's best if he is out of the way. I'm encouraging fighting, but it's not the confrontation's just not for everybody. Sometimes they're better to stand on the sidelines.
The guy that goes by "'Tis What It Really Is" live in on Ottawa. he'll be there through and through. He's there for the cause, so he won't be running. He said he'll probably end up going to jail on it.
Not putting messages like that out. So we're hoping nobody's going to jail, and if they do, it's for not long term, and it's for, small stuff and nothing big.
Your volume was way down. We could hardly even hear you. Had to stick the phone right up to my ear. He said he's not going to participate in violence, obviously, but he said he's just there to fully document everything, and he says he expects that he'll probably get arrested if he's in the area trying to film it, but he's not going to participate in any violence.
Keep forgetting the mic is down at the bottom of my phone and my finger was covering it.
Now, the other guy, I think it was the other guy that said he'll bail. He did say earlier that he is seeing a lot of people that he doesn't recognize that are around. So, who knows if it's undercover police or what it is. This other guy, the good YouTuber, he actually had some other younger guys yell at him, "I hope to get the crybabies out of here," as they walked by, and he didn't say anything. He said after that he's fully with the truckers and the cause.
Like, this is pretty fucking scary. Like, all he had to do was just drop the mandates. That was it. And now he's going to end up possibly costing people their lives, costing people their livelihoods, and costing the taxpayers millions more than what he had to. All he had to do was just drop the mandates. I don't know what his problem is.
Because he thinks he's a tough guy.
Behind all his security and at his cottage.
How's that case of COVID that he had last week? How's that going for him, by the way?
That might have been probably but a couple of weeks ago, and he appears to be perfectly normal, so.
I'm guessing the new thing on COVID is that you hide under tables and shit your pants. Is that a new symptom?
I just laid in bed for a day and hoped that I didn't, and then after that I was pretty well fine, so.
It's poop, guys, poop.
My apologies.
I'm just poking fun. We gotta have some sort of fun here with what's going on.
Completely agree. Dark times, we need to have love and laughter, and that's what everybody is there. I just love the unity, and I'm here for everybody.
Yeah, I think the only thing Trudy was diagnosed with was a really, really bad case of convoy 19. Come on.
One of the people on the channel is from Wisconsin, am I right?
That would be me, yes.
Well, I kind of heard, diarrhea is hereditary. It runs in the genes.
Bump.
The Americans in the channel, are they actually calling this a pro-Trump movement in the U.S.?
I don't watch the media. I haven't even turned my TV on. probably in 3 weeks. So I don't watch that crap. I heard that. I saw it on a couple of Facebook posts when people had links in the early stages. Yeah, they always blame it on Trump and call us racist and that, so yeah.
Blame it on the conservatives and call us all racist, but I just heard it on a YouTuber channel here. He's not boots on the ground, but he covers a lot of the news stories. And apparently they're calling it a pro-Trump movement when last I heard Trump has nothing to do with this. This is about vaccine mandates, not an American president or past president. So I don't know.
Well, Trump unfortunately has been out of office for 13 months and everything is still his fault. Stuff will happen in 5 years and it's Trump's fault. You just got to remember that.
Get why Canadians are blaming Trump. Forget, we do have a conservative party here too. They could blame O'Toole if they wanted to. Like, Trump is not our leader.
Well, they have to blame somebody. Come on now. This is human nature, right?
Really? You've got a conservative leader up there? Holy cow. I never heard of that. I thought Trump was your secondary party leader.
Well, come on. We had O'Toole. Toole? That was the perfect name for his position.
Candace is actually pretty good as an intern leader, but we don't have an actual leader yet because they booted O'Toole out. So there is going to be a leadership party coming, but it's just everything is all happening all at once.
Candace is good, but you know what? Let's face facts here. They all have some shystiness going on. We can't trust them at all. We just have to pick the better of the two evils, I guess, is how my mom put it. When I was like, who do I vote for? What do I do? When I actually got involved in voting.
Now the Conservatives are the lesser of the two evils. And, once we get Trudeau out of power in the next election, not now, but in the next election, then we can work on building up other parties that are better. But right now we just got to focus on building up the party that can take care of him in the next election.
That's so funny because this last time I didn't actually vote. And my old man said the same thing. Because I was like, you know what? I want to vote Maxime Bernier. And I was really strong about that. And he looked at me and he said, babe, you can't. And I said, what do you mean? Don't tell me what I can and can't do. And he's like, no, he goes, if you want that clown out of there, you have to vote with who would get him out, which is unfortunately the Conservative Party at this point. Because your one vote isn't going to make a difference with Maxime Bernier. You have to work with the opposition in order to get the clown out. So that's funny you said that because that's kind of the scheme that we're going in our house here. So
Is actually pretty good. I know he's got some shady stuff going on the side, but for the most part, he is pretty good. We just got to hope that he keeps his word.
There's the key, girl. Keeps their word.
Say where Andrew Scheer lost my respect is when he posed with that man who literally wrote a book teaching Islamic men how to properly beat and control their wives. He literally wrote a book on it and did press conferences on it. And Justin Trudeau and Andrew Scheer, both looking for votes, posed for photos with him at some community event in Toronto. And I just thought, wow, I'm not supporting you. Is not meant to sound racist at all. It is the truth. The guy literally wrote a book on how to properly beat and control your wives.
Oh, I believe it. That's how they run their countries over there. That's the problem with, some of the segregation and, oh, we're being racist crap. It's like, no, you know what? We're protecting our country's values and beliefs, and we don't believe in that. So where do you think you get off coming here and saying you can pull this crap, poop, because I can't swear, and get away with it? That's not how it goes. And that's where we have a lot of segregation and supposed racism, because we're not, acknowledging how they live their life. Well, I'm sorry, but you come here, you got to abide by our rules. That's just, we have to abide by yours when we go over there. So what makes you more special to come here and do that? The amount of sex trafficking of children and everything from people in those countries, it's far surpasses what, granted, white people do it and everything else, but it's just, when you see social media, it's their, because it's their belief, right? They marry children that are young and stuff like that. Well, we just don't do that here in Canada, and I just wish they'd respect that. But right away, we're the racists, right?
Actually, according to the human trafficking websites, we do have a couple of small areas in Canada that are considered to be yellow. And there is some, I think Russia is both red, orange, and yellow in their coloring, with red being the worst. And China is actually one of the worst. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure where this man was born or where he's from. Or I guess he lives over somewhere in Britain right now, but I don't know what his original origins are. But I just can't believe that he actually puts on these talks for groups of men on how to control women, and people actually, go out and buy his book and pay for money, pay for tickets to go and see him. And then we have politicians posing for photos with him.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I was raised, you serve your men per se. So I'm the cooker, cleaner, my hubby's the breadwinner out working. But that doesn't entitle him to beat me and tell me how I should live my life. Because if I decided not to cook and I wanted Chinese food last night, we got Chinese food last night. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just, that's the whole segregation and the whatever part of it, right? So.
The YouTuber that I'm watching, he had a fire van come up and park, and when he walked by, it's hard to tell if they were law enforcement in there, but the two guys that were inside the van had bulletproof vests on. So who knows if they're using fire vehicles now for bringing the cops in as well. So they're just putting that out there.
Yeah, those were law enforcement. Guy dropped his riot helmet when he opened the van door. Yeah, they're just using any vehicles they can get. That was the Tis What It Is live stream you were watching. Or Tis What It Really Is, I think.
Yeah, 10-4. That's who I had on. I couldn't see. I was concentrating on. I tried to pause it, but I was just looking to see if they were armed. Seeing what was on their belt lines. But I didn't see that he dropped the helmet. I knew he dropped something on the ground, but I didn't concentrate on that. I thought he was actually chocking the wheel, is what I thought he was doing. But like I said, I wasn't really paying attention to that.
Well, I'm going to smudge on that and hope for some good things to happen today and for everybody, and especially smudge my heart so that I stay good and pure about this, because it sure gets me angry in ways I don't like to face the facts of. So I'm just going to do that here, and I hope everybody has a great day.
The Americans that are there, hold on one second. For any of the Americans that are down there now, do you find that you're a little more on edge due to the protests that you've experienced in the U.S.?
I haven't gone to any of the protests that we've had. I've done flag support waving rallies during the Trump election, and I was out there beating the pavement every weekend. Um, we had some opposition. Just a lot of birds flown at us and telling us we're scum and that kind of stuff. And I'm talking in small county that I live in. Um, I haven't gone to the bigger ones. I was going to go down to the Kenosha riots, but I'm kind of lucky I didn't. That would have been pretty ugly down there. The cops really haven't gone into full force enforcement with the BLM riots. They just let them freaking burn the cities. That's the biggest problem. The thing that has really got us angry, that they've been allowed to just run amok. And then you see what's going on up by you guys, and it's very peaceful, and they're trying to shut it down, which is very, very scary when you look at the personal rights being taken away.
You'll find that the way that Canada is run just in general is a little different than the U.S. We are normally pretty free, but at the same time, they do have a bit of a tighter control. Now is way beyond what he should be doing. He had no business to enact the Emergency Measures Act during a peaceful protest or relatively peaceful protest. But yeah, I do find that the way that both countries are run is in general just a little little different. Anybody boots on the ground near Parliament now? You're not smart enough to understand that the U.S. and Canada are two entirely different countries, and that Trump does not run this country, so therefore it cannot be a pro-Trump movement, and that a lot of the people that are in this protest might not be Trump supporters. For here, wouldn't it be a pro-Candace movement because she's the conservative leader? I don't know. Understand that it's people from all over the world that have probably donated to this cause, right? So does this mean that it might be a pro-Putin movement too? Who knows? If those Russians are donating money, or anywhere really, it's exactly a huge Trump man myself, but I hope he's got big shoulders if he's got to take all the blame for our country too.
Oh, he's got big shoulders. He has done quite well.
You're Biden, that's for damn sure. Like, if I had to pick between the two, it would be Trump. But, I think it's kind of like here where you have to pick the lesser of the two evils. You might not like either one of them, though.
Trump was not my first pick. I was a Ted Cruz guy in the beginning, and when it got weeded down to it and I saw how Trump was going to do things the way he was going to do it, I'm like, I hate to say it, yeah, that's the way it needs to be done. So, yeah, he conformed me, that's for sure.
That I don't like about him is that just the way that he's treated some women and comments that he's made. That's my issue with him, is that I find that he's a bit of a sexist pig, but so is Joe Biden, and definitely so is his son, Joe Biden's son. So.
Yeah, there is that. Everybody's sexist, though. I hate to say it. The majority of human beings are sexist. And you look at the way the libs are and how they try to get on their soapboxes and say, "Oh, we're for this movement and that movement," and you look at what's going down with the Epstein shit in the last, sorry about that, stuff in the last year and a half, and how much stuff is being hidden and swept under the rug. It's bad in both directions. Unfortunately, it's a human issue, not just a political party or personal issue.
Trump actually one of the ones that turned Epstein in. I thought I heard that somewhere, that he was one of the ones who brought information forward.
There's been so much. I cannot recall on that.
So how everybody focused on Jeffrey Epstein and his girlfriend, and hardly anybody focused on R. Kelly, and he did the exact same thing. He's in prison, and hopefully will be for a very long time, but he still had supporters showing up at the courthouse saying how much they loved him.
One thing you got to remember about Trump, that any of the stuff that he did, his womanizing stuff, he did before he was an elected official or even considered running for political office. He was just a guy that, he was a businessman. He ran pageants, he built buildings. He never intended on getting into politics. So you're talking about two totally different characters of people when you look at Biden and what crap has gone down with him. I mean, he's got a lot of issues. The stuff that they got on tape with him is just, it's just crazy.
Telling the women in the room to be silent so that he could hear the men talk, and saying that he didn't want his kids going to a racial jungle school, along with a few other, racist comments about how, there's rich people, poor people, and then there's blacks, because, they're not even worth poor people. Yeah, he's definitely done quite a lot of things too, and he's definitely would never be somebody I would consider ever voting for if I was an American, that's for sure.
Hey, if you guys want to hit the government where it hurts the most, you've got to ask for a bank account at the Bank of Canada or a central bank digital currency. I'm sick and tired of not being allowed to have a bank account at the Bank of Canada. If this government doesn't respect our financial privacy, then I guess it's time to open accounts directly at the central bank.
Hold on. I'll switch to moderator chat.
For the guy that was asking about who that YouTuber was, he actually cut his feed, or it ended. It was "'Tis What It Really Is" live in Ottawa. He does have a live one up again now. I'll try to get it up quick. Give me a minute. Okay, fresh new link, new feed. Same guy, started 3 minutes ago, so I didn't hear why he said he quit. Throw a link up if you can, please.
Who can go to Viva Frey on YouTube and check out, he's literally interviewing people that are right downtown. These people are senior citizens, and this is what the riot police are going down to go deal with. We're just, middle-aged people that are just out there fighting for their freedoms. They're not rioters.
Okay, I found it. Well, it's no worse than beating down the 74-year-old guy over in Windsor the other day and gave him a concussion.
Definitely there's going to be a lot more getting beaten down unless some of these cops stand down, or that, that idiot in leadership there just drops the mandates and smartens up. Anybody gets hurt at this, or God forbid worse, whether it's a police officer, a security guard, or a protester, regardless of what side they're on, that's going to be on his hands.
Okay, I threw the Viva Free feed up there.
So do these people come across as being terrorists that are going to go and blow up our city?
And, and what I've noticed, when I've gone to the support rallies in Wisconsin, how happy people are. And that's what you see. You see lots of smiling faces. You see people that are enjoying being around people of like-minded thought. When you watch the BLM protest, all you see is a bunch of angry ass people just hating on one another. And it's like, wow, it's just two totally different classes of people.
Here, like our BLM protest was relatively quiet, except for, probably 15 or 20 arrests due to blocking roads and stuff. Even the First Nations protests, yeah, they're a little angrier with their protest, but they didn't get the same media attention that this one's getting. Talking about that flag, there was actually an anti-protest that was flying a communist flag, and the media said absolutely nothing about it. They also had a First Nations protest out in Victoria, BC, I think it was. I 100% support their cause. I 100% support why they're angry. They toppled a statue and cut its head off, and the media didn't even bother to cover it, really.
Yeah, it doesn't fit their narrative, so they don't want it out there.
That, but they just want to continue to silence the First Nations people. I'm sorry to say, but that's what it is they don't want to give them any attention. And it's not going to matter how aggressive they get. They're just going to be shoved aside again and again and again.
This is how it's always been, girl. We've always never meant anything to the government. I don't know if we ever will. Like we said, it's the people of Canada that support us, not the government. They like to say all fancy kinds of things for us and then just turn around and stab us in the back. And the way that I look at it is that they're trying to, divert attention onto us, saying, oh, you got this law and this law. And they are laws now, if you haven't educated about that. UNDRIP is a law now in Canada. And I feel like they just turned it around on the white people, on their people now. Now they're segregating and assimilating you guys. But they're diverting it to make it look like they're doing good for us, when in the backgrounds they're actually turning it around on you guys. So you need to be careful of that, and you need to keep your eyes open for that, because that's exactly what's happening here.
Not just turning on us, they're turning on anybody that's involved in the protest. Now, what I would have found funny is if the person that put the Canadian flag on Terry Fox was actually a person of color or an Indigenous person. I wonder if the media would have gotten as upset about it, or if they just didn't bother to notice who put it on, and that they just used it to kind of turn against us. But yet other people can topple statues and cut their heads off and destroy them, and hardly anything gets said bad about that. But somebody puts a Canadian flag on a Terry Fox statue, regardless of what color that person was. It's the fact that it's at a freedom rally, and suddenly the entire media in the country is in an uproar over it.
Well, and not only that, but I don't believe it probably was a First Nations. Us as First Nations have not been carrying the Canada flag. I have stated this before when I went on my healing journey and I was going to powwows. We have the United States flag because we do a grand entry and we carry our flags, our proud flags, when we do a grand entry at a powwow. And they had their United States flag, they had their nation's flag, and they had a Every Child Matters flag. But what was missing was our Canada flag, and I believe that's a statement on our parts that we don't support Canada because they didn't support us, and they continually not support us in ways that is just it's unthinkable. So that's something to think about too. We do not carry our Canadian flag in our grand entries anymore.
I wasn't necessarily saying that it was a First Nations person that did it. I was just thinking, like, how funny would that be if it was somebody that was non-white that put that flag there, and they're still getting, screamed at and judged and put all over the national media because somebody put a Canadian flag on Terry Fox, who was a Canadian, but yet anybody else puts anything on him, whether it's knitted sweaters or other types of flags, that was perfectly okay. But when someone puts a Canadian flag on him, regardless of what color that person is or what country they're from, it's suddenly a problem.
Oh, I got you. Oh, sorry, did I just step on you? Sorry. Yeah, no, I got what you're saying. I totally get that. And yeah, you're right. And they've posted on social media pictures of the cops that have badges or whatever it is, and him holding a flag. Like, there's numerous pictures out there of that. And you're right, because we're in a protest, all of a sudden the spotlight's on us, and we're, POSs, and we disrespect him. We don't disrespect Terry Fox. We absolutely honor him as Canadians, and we all do it inclusively, and for them to have the audacity to think that that was a hateful thing, that's sickening, actually.
Looks like things are starting to really pick up. They got lots of enforcement, and it looks like they're pretty prepared. The officers that are there are very prepared in gear, so it almost sounds like they might be bringing the MRAP in pretty soon, because they all have, the ones that are standing there have hearing protection on.
I think too, it could just be scare tactics. I mean, obviously they're afraid too, and they're going to go in there fully geared. I think what they're probably hoping is that people will just peacefully leave whenever they start to really show up and tell people to go. I don't know if that's what's going to happen or not, though.
Yeah, I wish I could be as optimistic, but yeah, I don't know.
I phoned my MP's office again about the comments that Trudeau made about accusing all the Conservative Party of being Nazis, but I've already called them twice in a row, so I don't know if I want to, be a pain in the ass to them again.
You're really trying to get on that no-fly list, aren't you?
Years ago, we had a Veterans Affairs Minister by the name of Kent Hare, and he was absolutely useless. The only photo ops he ever did was him stuffing his face with hot dogs with, people in his community. And it's myself and other military wives and other military members that pushed really hard to have him removed from office. And I have gotten warnings in the past, this was years ago, from the Facebook security kind of thing to watch my comments, and they put me on in Facebook jail for stating them, and then I'd go back and I'd say it again, because they needed to learn that he wasn't going to push around veterans and their families. And it's one thing to piss off a veteran that doesn't have a whole lot of fight in them anymore, but then you go and piss off their wives who have taken over that fight. Oh yeah. And we had him removed. He got replaced with somebody else, just because we took a stand and we really made sure that we were heard. That was done without threatening any harm or any violence or anything towards him. It was just being a real thorn in his side, to the point where the security had to say, you know what, enough is enough, stop. And we would all just respond with just a flat out no. I was also a member of the Liberal Party, and it was right after Justin Trudeau got put into power that they put him in to the Veterans Affairs Office. took quite a while, and it took like a lot of people coming forward and voicing their complaints and their concerns about him before that actually happened, though.
Yeah, I don't know if his signal is just bad where he is or if they're using jammers, but the feed is just terrible right now. Really bad.
Watching Viva Frey here, and it's actually coming through really well.
Just a quick question here, guys. I was just watching a live there, and everybody's just happy, dancing, touching each other, kissing, hugging. So, has there ever been anybody state what the COVID cases are since we've had such big gatherings with no face masks, that kind of thing? Because from over here, everything's going down. Have they tried to pull that and say that cases are going up because we're not listening and we're not, following protocol, and we're touching and feeling and breathing and farting and whatever it is? Does anybody know anything about that? Just curious. I just thought of that now.
As of a couple of days ago, the numbers were drastically dropping. I'll go and get our Ontario COVID-19.ca website info, and I'll post it in the chat.
Can I post a link in here for this weekend? It's for convoy.
Why wouldn't you be able to there, pal?
Well, I'm just making sure, because it's an event, and some people might be against posting that on here because of the situations that's going on, so I'm just confirming and making sure.
Well, it's got to be like a peaceful event and whatever else, but that's what your moderator status gives you, is the ability to do those things on on grounds that are appropriate, which you deem appropriate. So if you think it is, then have at her, buddy.
Well, thanks, our tips. I'm just, I'm new to this thing, so I don't know. I've been listening to the whole thing, but as far as the links, the way things are getting worse and worse, and I didn't even know I was a mod anyways, but thanks for that.
It gives you the status to be able to post links to actual proper information. I'm going to post the COVID-19 website to show what our numbers are here in Ontario. And this is according to the Ontario government. And by the way, all of our numbers have gone down. And hospitalization cases is 281 unvaccinated and 716 fully vaccinated. But I am kind of wondering if that includes people that have just checked in to emerge and then checked out later on. Later on that night kind of thing. I'm not 100% sure on how that data works, but yeah, all of our numbers are way down. I'm about to post the link here now.
Yeah, and I think it's Casper. If you can talk on here, that means you have mod status and you have a little bit more pull than everybody else. And also you'll notice a little star by your name there. That tells you that you're a mod there.
Awesome. Thanks for letting me know. That's cool.
Yep, you're special. Yes, yay, you're special.
I like being special sometimes. Not all the time, though.
Yeah, if they're putting drones up, obviously it's the law enforcement that's running those. The one guy, somebody asked him to put his drone up, and I guess that whole Parliament area is all no-fly zone for that kind of stuff. So whoever owns those drones, obviously law enforcement.
Brit Brat, if you can hear me, I think you can post links in the general chat.
Yeah, Mike, actually touch base on that. If any drones are found that aren't theirs, they get shot down around Parliament, actually.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I know the U.S. FAA, they've put out a lot of new laws in the last year, even over flying them over vehicle accidents and any type of law enforcement actions, emergency issues. That's starting to be illegal as well. Which, I mean, I can see when, law enforcement obviously has to get theirs up in the air for what they need to do. They don't need to be worrying about flying into somebody else's craft. And obviously, about having a government building that's should not be allowed to have it having anything flying around them, no matter when it's going on.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They're the ones that need to be watched the most. So, like, that's a kind of a catch-22, don't you think? It's like nothing they do is legit or right. Let's be real about that. Um, so why wouldn't, we want to see that, that's why they're getting away with the things they're getting away with in my eyes, but that's just the way I see it. I'm not involved in there deeply. I'm just starting to, and it's quite sad actually. I'm 43 and I'm starting to know politics at this age. Yeah, okay.
We've had it pretty good up until COVID struck. General overall, we've had it pretty good. I know that some people haven't, but for the most part, our country was in relatively decent shape.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. There was a lot of things that need to be fixed and need to be acknowledged, which we were in the right step. And then, yeah, like what, what just happened? That's so crazy when you think about it. Here I'm, meeting my 22-year apart 16-year-old sweetheart, having a baby with him. To bring him into this, I would have thought twice if I would have been thinking about it during COVID.
Few of us that could kind of see his dictatorship style coming through, but I don't think any of us expected it to happen like this fast. I think Trudeau understands just how many people that are Liberal, NDP, and Green Party that are also part of this convoy in downtown Ottawa protesting. Like, if you look at some of these YouTubers, they really don't come across as conservative people. They come across as not what you would imagine for a conservative, but there's a lot of people from all different parties down there that are down supporting this convoy, but yet he doesn't see that some of his own constituents are right there. Some of the people that put him in office are now protesting in front of his office. Posted a link for anybody who has animals that are down in the protest if they're trying to look for shelters to put their animals in for now that are no kill. I believe there's a list in there.
It's too bad Les isn't on to turn on chat to see what the people out there are thinking. We're almost at 100,000 people here. I'd be interested to see how they thought. Mind you, it might be a good playground for trolls to hit us up too, right? It just sucks that they have to be involved.
Sounds like he's going to use all the police and stuff that he can get. He's going to gear up them instead of the military. But I think the military are off somewhere else anyways. He's not going to revoke them and bring them in. But if he's doing all the fencing and concrete blocks and everything else, I think he's getting ready for something like that.
He can't bring the military in. They can't go against their own people. They can only defend the cops, which, if things happen, that's the only. But you can't bring the military in against your own people.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I just didn't know how to word it. But yeah, that's why he's going to use the cops to do their job for them.
Military has already refused to come in. That is one thing I'd have to say about that leader, or whoever it was that turned it down. Kudos to them. They told Trudeau that they are not a police force. It is not their job to act as a police force. Understand the barriers and stuff, because they are also, trying to keep things under control. I understand that. I just hope it doesn't get ugly. Like, I really hope it doesn't. I hope that they can come to some kind of an agreement or something. Like, again, the fat lady hasn't sung yet, so let's just hope that things don't escalate more than what they already have.
Yeah, and I hope not either. But I mean, I don't know. Keeping her peaceful, try not to be all scared of. I'm sure they're trying to show their force as we see. But yeah, we just gotta show them that we're not scared of anything that they're doing.
Well, unlike really though, it's like bully tactics, right? And don't we have laws against that? Wasn't it our Canadian government that was like, you can't bully, not even on social media? And this is what they're doing to, like, I don't understand why people don't see that he's making laws to break them. He has not kept anything legit. He keeps breaking law after law after law. And I don't understand what his supporters don't understand about that. Like, it's so frustrating, and like it makes people angry. Like, it's just terrible.
I think he knows he's done. So he's being, well, true dumb with it all, everything. So everything he's done is for a purpose, and yeah, he's made them to basically break them, his own. Hence the word true dumb.
What the party support is for the Liberals, but I know that his own personal support, at least as of, I think, 2 days ago, was only 16%. So yeah, he knows that his time, at least as the leader, will be coming to an end soon.
When do we get to get that clown show done anyways? Like, the circus is over. When do we get to vote that? Like, in all honesty, how long do we have to put up with this? I'm so not up to it because I really don't care, but I'd like to know when his term is up.
It's another couple of years, but don't quote me on that. But right now, we just got to concentrate on getting all these mandates dropped and getting our country back to what it was pre-COVID, and then we can work on all the other issues that that people don't like about him and worry about getting him voted out then. But I think it's we have him for a little bit longer yet. I'm not in support of overthrowing the government at all, so I do think we need to wait for an election to come. We just need the mandates to be dropped.
No, this turtle dove's got to be pushed out. That's the only way he's gonna leave. If he doesn't, and nobody else pushes him out, House Commons don't push him out, or whatever the rules are to get him out. It's gonna be pretty hard, and until then, he's going to use every and all options he could possibly use.
Yep, I agree. Sorry, but he's got to go. And I believe a large fringe minority believe that he's got to go too. And that has to be said, because the things that I'm hearing of how he's got to go is not a good thing, but I believe most of us feel that way.
Looking at, watching these live feeds, and yeah, they may have had a lot of cops come in, and I saw somebody posted on one of the Facebook chatters that I forget the bus company. They said they had four bus loads, and it seemed pretty authentic. The woman said her mom was a dispatcher at the bus company. That they had 4 bus loads of OPP and RCMP coming in from surrounding areas, busing them in. But looking at the thousands of people that are here now, okay, maybe they'll wait till after dark to do their full out takeout of the drivers. But what happens tomorrow? How many of these people are going to come back and raise Cain?
I'll be showing up if that gets to that point. If they need me there, my boy goes to his grandma's and I'm showing up. No questions asked.
I think that he will eventually be put out of his own party eventually, but I would just like to see it done in a democratic way where, where we get a chance to all have our say and vote him out. But maybe an election will come sooner rather than later. But right now, we just need to get the mandates dropped and get this country back to where it was pre-COVID, and then work on plans on how to clean up some of these parties and start getting heard.
We tried the voting way again, his little game he played there, and it didn't work. So, I don't know. The voting thing isn't working, so that's my concern.
Work now because, like I said, his personal support has dropped down to 16%. So, it might work this time around because people, like what he's done now, especially with this Emergency Measures Act, is he's scaring the living shit out of a lot of people because they don't know what's going to happen next. Like, we don't know if he's going to open war on his own country, or if he's going to start seizing everybody's bank accounts, or what it is he's going to be doing. So maybe this is, unfortunately, maybe this is the wake-up call that some of his supporters and NDP supporters needed to see in order to know where this country is going. And now we need to get him out of office whenever we can to get it back to where it was before.
He needs to also make sure if there's any Americans involved on the Canadian side here, like in Ottawa or whatever, he's got to be careful not to mess with them as well. I mean, regardless of Biden, but that's a pretty serious thing if he starts messing with that, doing anything with the Americans.
Yeah, but here's the thing too. What can we believe? You see numbers, but until it happens, we can think all we want how things are going to go. There's speculation of interception and stuff. So I don't think the voting is working as well. And that's just my opinion and whatever. But we'll see what happens, and that's probably the route we'll have to go. But it'd be nicer if we could do a different route is all.
He only got he got a very low percentage of the popular vote. Like, he only got 21% support, which is just above the NDP. The Conservatives actually won the popular vote, but the Liberals got more seats. So as much as we would like to see the Conservatives in power due to the popular vote, keep in mind at one point Hillary Clinton got the popular vote too. So we also have to be careful what we wish for and how our voting works. MP's office told me not to pay attention to the polls because the polls don't mean anything really until the voting is done. So I do have a feeling that there could be an earlier election phoned after this, called in after this is done, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you can read all you want what they say, but until it actually happens, we don't know nothing. Because, in all honesty, I was so upset at our last vote, which was a farce, because that was just another way of him trying to get dictatorship and majority rather than the minority government or whatever. And wasted our money and everything for what? For that BS? Yeah, just to let us down and make us feel defeated again. That's why I'm saying you just can't trust that until it happens. I guess we'll see what happens with the vote, right?
It is for a lot of the chiefs on the reservations to start joining in on this fight. Like, I know there's a lot that are already, in support, but there's a lot more that aren't. And because they feel that their protesting gets handled very differently, which in a lot of cases, yes, it has, and they have been horribly discriminated against. But now we have literally riot squad being called in to deal with peaceful protesters, and we need everybody to come and join in and support, and just a show of numbers just to show them that they're not going to intimidate people, but at the same time do our best to keep it peaceful too.
No, 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 no. I don't buy that. The chiefs and stuff, lots of them are paid off. Let's not kid yourself. They're just as much in the government as anybody else. They're just as much hungry as everybody else. Trust me. I know this. So no, I don't buy that they're not behind this. They're just getting paid off. Because we are, for the most part, from what I see, a lot of us are behind the movement of freedom, because that's what we've been fighting for all our lives. So I don't buy the Chiefs. No, I don't buy that. Sorry.
One of the NDP leaders that spoke in the House of Commons, she was pointing out on how she feels that it was unfair how her people were treated compared to this, and that she couldn't get behind the protest and the support of it. And most of the NDP, I don't think, support the protest, and the ones that do would never say anything against it because they don't want to lose their jobs. And if you really watch the House of Commons, there's a lot of Liberals sitting on that side that you can tell when the Conservatives are speaking, their minds are really turning, but they can't stay up and say anything because then again, they lose their jobs. So, and yes, there is a lot of Liberals that also support Trudeau, but there's a lot, I think, that secretly don't. And we know what happens if they stand up against him. Literally saw what happened with that when he fired two of his heavy hitter women in his caucus because they stood up against him during a scandal. So we know how that will go for them if they stood up against him now. I do think there's a lot of people that are supporting him more out of fear and not out of science or anything. They're just supporting him out of fear.
Which just goes to prove money talks. That's all. Because if you were true to your heart, you'd stand up for what's right.
People are on welfare that would love to stand up and say something against them, but would be afraid to have their welfare checks cut off, and that's the only way they can support their families. Or people that are, on some type of government pension, regardless of what it is. There's probably a lot of people that are afraid that their accounts could be frozen too, if they stand up and say something.
That's funny you bring that up, because on my healing journey, I found out that the only way my parents would get their welfare check to feed themselves is if they signed over rights to me to my residential school that I was in. You see similarities there?
Yep. Actually a victim of the residential schools?
Sorry, did you ask me if I was? Yes. And the foster care system and the scoop.
We have a garden here that's being started by a small group of us. It's going to be called the Truth and Reconciliation Garden, but after listening to that chief speak a few days ago where he said there's no reconciliation, it should be truth and conciliation, it's made me think that if I should approach the band council here and ask them if that would be a better name for the garden, because we're going to be building it here in the spring. It's already kind of started, but I got a lot more planning to do for the spring, which I really got to get on and, start finding like the different flowers and stuff that are going to go in there. But hopefully that'll get up and running. I just got to figure out now what it's called now that reconciliation might not be the proper terms to use. I don't know. Personally not a part of the scoop or the residential school system. I'm not First Nations that I know of, even though it's strongly suspected that my dad has First Nations. But my great aunt was actually a white child slave that was sold into child slavery when she was 12 years old by her drunken father, and she went to a German family who abused her as a slave for many, many years until her owner died, and then his kids kind of took over. It looks like it's pretty quiet downtown, though, so far. On the ground there, are they talking to the people that live in Ottawa? Like, how are they feeling?
Good grief, I haven't seen so many of our team up on chat as I do right now. It's good to see. Everybody must be aware of what's going on.
Seem to be fluctuating between the mid 700s and, $6.99. To get to Ottawa, but I don't drive, and my husband, being a military veteran, absolutely cannot do crowds, and he especially can't do crowds that could get confrontational. So that would kind of scare him to get into that environment. So here we are. The only thing I can do is help moderate a channel to keep trolls out.
Well, I want you to know that everything everybody can do is exactly what they can do, and we welcome it all, and never look down at any of that. We all have our little bits and our things going on, so I just say thank you for doing what you are doing.
So over 2 hours away, so I understand that's not really an excuse considering people have come from all over the country, but we also have a small farm here, so if I went down there and ended up getting caught up in that mess, there's nobody here that can look after these animals, and some of them are actually special needs and they require certain types of medications and certain care, so there's just not very comfortable with getting the medications right and pain meds and making sure that everybody gets the exact kind of feed and doing it on her own, so.
I live over in Alberta, furthest away, and if they need be, I will jump in my vehicle and leave at any time. When I had children, I said I would stand in front of a bullet for them. I mean it.
Queen Bee, I'm over here with you. We'll be heading up to Parliament and stuff like that. We got our own things going on. Down at Coots Lots, supported them, got food in, water in for them, fuel in for them. So we're doing our parts here too. But like I said, it has to go, we go.
You might want to have your go bags ready.
They're packed.
Money, water, a couple of changes of clothes, food, dry food that you got something to eat for a couple of days if things get shut down, that you're stuck somewhere.
Yep, we're all over it. We decided this way back when. Me, my 20-year-old son, and my partner, and my son goes to his grandma's in Calgary, and we are off.
Don't bring your dogs, because we all know what's going to happen to them if they happen to come, or your cats, so they'll be put into the pound in Ottawa and then euthanized in 8 days.
Well, and we're bringing our bouncy castle for the clowns that are in that building. Gotta have a little fun with them too, right?
The beach balls. Beach volleyball thing, only use beach balls instead of real volleyballs, because they could hurt if somebody got whipped with one, but set up a net and then start playing with some beach volleyballs.
You know it, girl. We'll be all over that. I'm Team Freedom. Dibs.
Find disgusting is I have people on my Facebook that are retired military, and some of them actually fully support the violence that's about to happen towards their own people. Like they're in full support of what the government is about to do. Not all of them. There's only one on there that really does it, so I shouldn't say all of them are like that, but there's one on there that actually fully supports what the government is about to do. And that's just frightening that people are very prepared to have us segregated totally. Somebody who's already experienced that government segregation, and you're about to experience it again. And it's sad to say, but and the government and the people are not listening to those who have already been through it because they think that they don't know what they're talking about. Sad to say is that his father probably ran at least one of those schools that you were in. When were you in the school? Make you stay there until you graduated, or were you able to get out of that child prison beforehand and go to a regular school, or was that the only one you were allowed to go to? Viva Frey is actually talking to people that are part of the Zello team right now. I believe that's what she just said. A lot in the Convoy Plus Plus channel.
Actually, it looks like they're having a little bit of problems over there right now. There's just a minute here. It doesn't look, though, there's only 219. They've been being attacked by bots over there, so they're having a tough time and having to bounce people, and people go back in to get rid of them. So there's 219 over there right now.
Speak in moderator chat, then all the moderators of the different channels can hear, right?
No, only in ours. They talk in theirs, we have ours. It's just for our team that's on here of moderators. They won't be able to hear us, no. But we have a bridge. Like I said, I used to be on that one. But my buddies Wizard and Whiskey are over there, and they bridge the gap if there needs to be.
Britt Brat would like to be able to post stuff in our chat, but she can't until Wes comes on and approves that. Or he. I'm pretty sure it's a girl, but yeah, her name is Britt Brat.
Yeah, no, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I know. I tried to send a shout out to Les there earlier and check the other channels that I'm on, the team there, to see if he was possibly in those, and I haven't been able to find him to get the chat turned on, because I think this would be a good time for it, for people to be able to say what they want and to post links so that we're up to date completely with factual things.
I know it's something that's really, really small, but here in Ontario, I did tell our MP in the area that if the Conservatives are looking for a little more support, they might want to work on making sure that all BSL is dropped in Ontario as well. I think that's something that might be able to gain a little bit of support for them, is to stop all the segregation against certain breeds of dogs, which I believe the Liberals introduced several years ago, and people have been fighting it for a long time. I think that would end up gaining a little bit more support if they got on the side of dropping the BSL mandates too. Anybody's really listened, and a lot of people have bully breeds anyways, but I do think that would be something that could get on their side, at least get more animal rights people on their side anyways. That the media doesn't seem to get to, whenever they're painting this as a racist movement because it's mostly white people or people who appear to be white down there, well, when probably 75% of Canada has the skin tone that is either a beige or a white color, then yes, obviously when you go to protests and big major events, the majority of the people that you're going to see is going to appear to look white, because that's what the larger percentage of the population is, but the media doesn't seem to think of that. We were in a country where it was predominantly Asian or brown or a black country, then the vast majority of the people showing up at the protests are going to be whatever the particular majority of color is in that country. But the media just doesn't seem to pick up on that here, and they just paint everybody as being a racist when they support this just because everybody appears to be white. Them anyways. He's an amazing guy to follow on the POC for Freedom page on Instagram. He is an absolute mouthpiece, and I love him. He is awesome. I just can't think of his name, but if you go over there and look him up, he's going to be sitting in a whitish colored interior, or the interior of their vehicle is like a whitish color, and he's got like long dreads on him. He's absolutely amazing to listen to. He's in full support of this convoy. There's so many people over there that are in full support of this convoy. It's unreal. And it's called POC for Freedom, and it's on Instagram. True that more trucks showed up this week. It has boots on the ground. I'd like to point out, too, that there's another Facebook page called Canada Unity, and another one called, I think it's called Canada United. They're also good pages to follow. They don't get as much coverage as the bigger convoy pages, but they are, Canada Unity, I believe, was one of the ones that was originally behind this. And they're a good page to follow, too, to get some updates and live feeds. Link here in a second. Really sure if it was a fired driver or not. I just know that people originally thought that the cops were giving the truck driver a hard time, and that's why the truck left. But apparently they were actually trying to help get the truck out of there.
I cannot get on that Canada Unity link. It's telling me that the link is broken. I tried punching it in manually. I searched for them. I cannot find that page. Anybody have any new links on feeds?
Sorry guys, I'm just getting my nails done here at my girl Tina's in Sylvan Lake at Friendly Nails. If you need me, let me know. Otherwise, I'm out for a bit. Thanks. Miigwech. Because you all know that if I have to go and show up in Ottawa, I got to have my nails pretty and all.
So, Mills, I went and I showed respect. I gave out my cards. I listened to the drums. I took some pictures. Forgive me, guys. I'm the worst photographer, and clearly I'm not a journalist. But I know they're trying to make us like they didn't have the like they had some of the wall stuff up, but not to the extent that it is today. I just think that they're trying to orchestrate fear, and it's a bit silly. We are winning. We are 100% winning, and I saw it. Can't explain how amazing this is to see Canada actually come together this way. It was beautiful.
Hey Les, I see you on there now. Are you able to turn on the chat so people can maybe talk about what's going on today, as it's getting quite interesting per se?
Yeah, okay. I'll turn it on for a while, as long as I'm here. But if I have to leave, I will have to shut it off. But yeah, I'll turn on chat.
Copy that. I'll send it over, the message over to the other places. I don't think Les is trusting any mods for mod status as we've been attacked. I'm not sure, but you can definitely text up there.